So, where you are now, what does an ideal marriage look like to you?
An ideal marriage would be one where I'm married to a tall, dark, and handsome man.
Yellow bones out. Yellow bones out.
I'm joking, guys. Please do some videos if you see yellow bones. Please do. On a serious note, though, I think my ideal marriage would be to a God-fearing man, someone who actively practices Christianity, actively, like has a relationship with Jesus, and is gainfully employed, and just has a biblical view of marriage and family.
And what is your expectation of yourself in this marriage?
To be a Proverbs 31 woman. So I think that's kind of like, what do you bring into the relationship?
Yes, what do you bring to the table?
Okay, what do you bring to the table? Yes. Okay. So, like I already mentioned that I am a qualified clinical psychologist, so I'm not afraid to work hard and also financially contribute to the home. But I also want my role to be more of running the household, taking care of the kids. You know, when one of us has to take time off of work because the kids are sick, I envision in my marriage that would be me. Yeah. And also just being a support structure for my husband, being, there to make sure that, the home is running efficiently while he's out working hard to provide for the family and taking care of the kids and, and things like that.
I think that a lot of us, male and female, have that an idea, not specifically your idea, but an idea of the type of marriage we want, the type of wives or husbands we want, and the type of wives and husbands we want to be.
Yeah.
How are you preparing yourself to be that?
Okay. So first of all, I'm gonna tell a short story of how I ended up going back to school, because after school I waitressed for a couple of years. Before I then went back to study. When I had become born again, I was praying for a husband, and I vividly remember that I had God say to me, after I had described my ideal husband, I said, God, please give me someone like this, like this, like this. And in my list was the fact that this person has to be educated. They have to have a tertiary education. I did not have a tertiary education myself, but it's just I had dated guys that had tertiary education. I had dated guys that didn't. And I kind of enjoyed my relationship with men that were more formally educated.
Okay.
So, fast forward 2 years later, that's when I went back to school. So when God said that to me, I had just become born again, and I would sometimes struggle to say, is this the voice of God? Is it Satan? And usually I would pick and choose. If it's something that I like, then I would say it's God. And if it's something that I don't like, then it was definitely the devil. So at that time, I had said to myself, no, Satan, I bind you. This is the devil. And I sat around waiting for this husband to come. I don't know how it came about that I finally went back to school. But when I went back to school, I didn't still have the thought of, oh, God said for this. God just worked in me and just gave me that desire to go back to school. It was later, while I was now in tertiary, that I remembered that when I was praying for a husband, like the first time I prayed for a husband, God told me I needed to go back to school. So that is one way that I have prepared myself for the kind of men that I asked God for. And I also asked God for a man that loves him, a man that is God-fearing. And I've also, throughout those years that I have been single, like really worked on my relationship and grown in my relationship with God. And I have a personal relationship with Jesus that I would love for my husband to have as well. So the things that I'm looking for in the next person are things that I also am developing in myself, and also just someone who's peaceful, someone who's not a fault finder, someone who is gracious and kind. And those are qualities that I am developing, and doing that around my friends and my family and my colleagues to make sure that, I'm growing I'm growing the fruit of the Spirit, my kindness, gentleness, and passions. I'm still working on my passions still.
You'll get there.
Yeah. I'm not the most patient person, but I am working on those things.
Yeah. You spoke about if you were to, like, if someone has to take a day off of work to take care of the kids, it would be you. And that got me thinking about being a housewife or a homemaker. What are your views on that? Is it something you're interested in? Is it something that you're like, I'd rather go to work? And like, what's your view about being a traditional wife?
Okay. So my view about it is that it's okay. It's okay for someone to want to do that. It's not something that I want. It's not something that I feel like I'm called to. I don't think God would go through this whole process with me of getting me to go back to school and to study, especially the degree that I studied. And I really feel that God led me in this path to study psychology. And I believe that He has gifted me in this area to be able to help people that struggle with mental illness, and as someone who struggled with depression for quite a while, it's something that when I'm working with someone, I truly understand what they are going through, what they are feeling, because I have been there. So I think that is why that is kind of like my ministry. And so for myself personally, I do not think that I'm called to be a homemaker and a housewife, but it is something that I think is honorable to be at home and to raise kids. Raising kids, I think, is the most difficult job that a person can have. I mean, you have destinies at stake. It's not just a small thing to be at home and to raise and to groom children to be good members. Yes, whatever they're called to be, and good members of society. It's not a small thing, but it's just not something that I believe is my calling.
That's very wonderfully put, actually. Because thank you.
Awesome.